Well, the idea for this exhibition that is called 336 came from originally the first visit that we did to this building in which we are right now. And actually from the very first time we came here, Shuli Shang wanted to work on the political and architectural history of this building. And like other artists that had decided to panel the walls of this building and use it as a white cube, she really wanted to explore the history of this building and to work with it. In a sense, she wanted the building naked. And this idea of nakedness is very close and very embedded within the work of Shuli. Naked walls, unraveling the history of this building, but also naked technology, unraveling the work of the surveillance digital technology today, but also unraveling and naked, in a sense, the history of sexuality. So those are like, let's say, like 3 levels of the project. It is also kind of important to say that the idea for this project came also maybe from exactly the place where we are right now, which is the place in which some remarkable, let's say, criminals, what were considered once criminals, like for instance Giordano Bruno, were in jail, but also someone like Giacomo Casanova. So from the moment in which basically we learned that Giacomo Casanova had been jailed in these very same walls, and that actually escaped in 1756 from this building, we decided with Shuli, and this was like a kind of a collective decision for both of us, that we really wanted to explore the relationship between the prison and sexuality, the way in which different people in different political and historical regimes have been jailed because of gender and sexuality. Starting, of course, with Giacomo Casanova, but then like unfolding this history up to today. And then including, we started to think who could be part of this history. Of course, Marquis de Sade, who probably is one of the, let's say, the writers that has produced his entire work, mostly in prison during more than 30 years, but also other unexpected people, like Michel Foucault, for instance. When I was in Poland, I discovered that recently the archives that show that Foucault had been investigated for homosexuality have been found in Poland. And we thought how interesting that the main historian of the prison and also the main historian of sexuality was himself investigated for homosexuality, but somehow this element of his biography has always been quite silent, right? So we decided to include this history of Foucault as part of the 10 cases. Actually, we had like 10 different cases. And what is important to say is that these cases are not being treated by the artist in a kind of documentary way. She has inspired himself in the traditions of feminism, transpunk fiction, anti-colonial imaginations to really create like a fictional counter-history of sexuality going up to today. And also, of course, like fictionally, we started to kind of in a way like travel across times and also across genders and across race and hacking gender, race and sexuality. So we have a Taiwanese Casanova, we have a female character that is embodying Marquis de Sade, we have a transgender woman embodying the case of the castrating women that find sometimes themselves in jail. So basically this is a kind of a hacking of the history of sexuality. But in a sense this is just one of the levels of the project, because from the very beginning the idea of Shuli was exploring the transition from a kind of a disciplinary modern jail like this one, right, into a contemporary surveillance digital society. And to do that, she kind of transformed this Renaissance building into a total surveillance system with digital technologies that actually even spread outside of the building itself. So the exhibition is not just in this building, but it's also in your pocket, because we had a website, 336.com, And actually you can access the exhibition, but you can also upload your own videos dancing in solidarity with women that have been in jail accused of dancing and posting their videos on the internet. So you can go to the website and upload your own video that actually becomes part of the exhibition. So the exhibition is constantly changing and is uploaded like every 20 minutes, and is of course like a kind of this interface, this almost like human-sized interface between the outside and the inside. Another element that maybe is interesting for the people that are going to come to the pavilion to see the exhibition, which I hope, is that immediately when they get in the building, they are being filmed by facial recognition technologies. The same ones that are being used more or less all around in the streets or in airports. But the difference is that Shuli has created an algorithm that is hacking those facial recognition technologies and transforming these faces, the faces of everyone that will come to the pavilion, into different formal and abstract shapes that become also part of the exhibition.
I was born in Taiwan, and I left Taiwan after college. I studied history in college. I went to America to study cinema, went into the New York University to study cinema, and after the studying, I really cannot quite make the movies. So somehow, accidentally, I became the artist. My first actually quite accidentally, that my first solo exhibition was at the Whitney Museum of American Art. It's a project called Color Schemes in 1990. So that sort of kind of launched my career as an artist. I'm an artist that didn't go through the gallery route and just go directly to the museum. So pretty much I stayed in New York City throughout the 80s and 90s. So these are the 20 years I feel like I developed myself as an artist, and still I want to make films. So finally, until today, I did make 3 feature films that's released in the cinema. Meanwhile, I think by the mid-90s, I sort of jumped on the superhighway, and I claim myself cyber homesteading in the cyberspace. And since 1995, I started doing a project with the internet. The first project actually is called Bowling Alley at Walker Art Center in 1995. Consequently, I did some other project until I got commissioned by the Guggenheim Museum to make Brandon. That was 1998, 1999. So that was kind of finished my 90s in New York, and after I finished Brandon, I became a digital nomad for 10 years, and finally I'm now actually settled in Paris. So that's quite a history. Yeah. Quick one. Being invited as a solo artist, the first thing I learned is that I got to use the whole 4 gallery, meaning the whole space. So it totally changed my mind, and in a certain way I really want to, and I did some research on the space, and I really to read about the prison past, and happened to, I think if you Google search, actually it's kind of famous, you know, it was Google search Passaro Prigioni would be saying like it was the first, you know, housed or imprisoned Casanova. And so it kind of, it's really a point to know about the Casanova, the history, and to know that I got to use the whole space. So right from the beginning, I want to preserve the sort of prison architecture in the space, you know. So I'm not interested in building walls. I'm trying not to build any obstruction to present. I think in the gallery space, the 4 gallery space actually create a consecutive narrative itself, and you kind of walk through the space, and you have the so-called sexual dissident, the prisoners presented to you in Gallery A, then you got into Gallery B and C to know more about their story. You have 10 episodes of film, each 10 minutes, each case. And by the time you reach Gallery D, it really shows you the sort of back-end operational mechanism of the surveillance. No, actually, I thought about this space. The first thing I want to do the prison, but then I thought about the Panopticon, and Panopticon is I already did a Panopticon interface in Brandon, so I want to expand the concept of Panopticon from the Bentham 16th century to today. We have to consider today's society is much bigger Panopticon, and actually maybe the Panopticon we think of today is totally out of the confinement of the 4 walls, and rather it's more of a data Panopticon. We are imprisoned by the overload of the data which we provide ourselves to every social network media. So right from the beginning when I decided to make these, I think I thought about also, I think it's important to not to say that I want to replicate a Panopticon structure, rather than I would prefer to invert the Panopticon structure by the way that Panopticon was supposed to be surveilling all the watching eyes, and here I turn these Panopticon structure into projection, which projects a different image or infiltration, intervention. I invite people to upload the dance up, which kind of cut into the set narrative of the prisoner. On the staircase coming up, you had 2 3D surveillance camera also, which capture the person, and we were able to do the facial recognition, but we totally turn the facial recognition around. So that's a lot of sort of idea of in a highly controlled society, how at the end any resistance is possible. Maybe again, I always consider whenever I try to convey this kind of idea of resistance, is still quite symbolic or gestural, poetic gesture. So, but I think it's important to feel energized again, my kind of collective conceptual recognition of the possibility of resistance.